So what if I told you that a 1,400-year-old leadership model might just hold the blueprint for success in the 21st century? We're going to dive into a book that isn't just a history lesson, it's a deep psychological study. It looks at the leadership of Prophet Muhammad as this timeless, super practical, and, get this, scientifically validated framework for anyone in a position of influence today.
The author kicks things off with this really powerful line, and I think a lot of us can relate to this. In a world that's just crowded with job titles and org charts, there's often this feeling of a crisis of purpose. We're surrounded by bosses, but how often do we see real, true leadership, the kind that actually inspires trust and builds people up?
And that leads us to the big question the book tries to answer. Is it even possible to find a leadership model that puts human development first ahead of just hitting quarterly targets? A model that's really built on integrity and purpose, not just power and profit? Well, according to this analysis, the answer isn't just yes, it's a loud and clear yes. And here's the core idea, and honestly, it's a total game changer. The book argues that the key principles of prophetic leadership, things like emotional intelligence, consultation, empowering your team, these aren't just articles of faith or some dusty historical facts. They actually line up perfectly with and are often validated by decades of modern research in psychology and leadership studies. This slide just lays it all out, crystal clear. Just look at how these ancient principles map directly onto today's big ideas. Shura, or consultation, is exactly what we now call collective intelligence. The idea of being both compassionate and firm, that mirrors what modern psychology calls compassionate leadership. And that focus on always learning, well, that's what Stanford's Carol Dweck would later call a growth mindset. This isn't a coincidence, right? It shows that these principles are built on a really deep understanding of how people tick. So the book breaks this entire framework down into 5 interconnected pillars. This is the heart of the model. It all starts with values, then moves to being human-centered, then to decision-making, empowerment, and wraps up with sustainability. And what's so important to get here is that this isn't just a checklist of traits. It's a complete integrated system where every part supports the others. All right, let's start with the absolute bedrock. Values and integrity. The book argues that before you can even think about strategy or skills, a leader's legitimacy comes from their ethical core. It has to be non-negotiable. This is where all trust comes from, and if this foundation is shaky, the whole thing just falls apart. And this quote, wow, it just perfectly captures that commitment. When he was offered basically everything, immense power, incredible wealth, to just abandon his mission, the prophet's response was absolute. And this isn't just being stubborn. It's a huge leadership lesson. Real leaders know that the moment you compromise on your core values, you start to lose everything, because your vision is tied to a purpose that's way bigger than any personal gain. So, once you have that solid foundation of values, the second pillar makes the model all about people. It's built on a really simple but powerful idea. You just can't lead people you don't understand. This is where things like emotional intelligence, compassion, and the ability to build secure relationships become absolutely essential. And you know what's fascinating? The book draws a direct line to a major concept in modern psychology: secure attachment theory. Think of it like this. When a leader gives their team both genuine support and clear, firm boundaries, they create a kind of secure base. And this doesn't make people weak or dependent. It does the exact opposite. It creates the kind of trust and loyalty that leads to amazing self-discipline and high performance. Okay, so if you've got a leader with strong values who really gets their people, how do they make decisions? Well, that brings us to pillar 3. In this model, wisdom is never found in just one person acting alone. It's found through shura, which is a really deep kind of consultation. It's about deliberately going out and seeking different, even opposing opinions to tap into the group's collective intelligence before any final call is made.
And this isn't just a philosophical thing. It's backed by hard data. The book points to research from the Harvard Business Review that shows teams that use collaborative decision-making produce results that are 20 to 30% higher in quality. That's a huge modern validation of this ancient practice.
Now, once you're making these great decisions together, the next logical step is empowerment. That's pillar 4. A key idea here is that a leader's real success isn't measured by what they achieve themselves, but by the leaders they build. It's all about strategically giving power to others to make sure the mission and the values can keep going long after you're gone. And yeah, the numbers definitely back this up. The book highlights research from Harvard Business School showing that organizations that truly empower their people see productivity shoot up by as much as 25%. And why is that? Well, it's pretty simple. When people feel trusted and have ownership, they're more invested, more creative, and way more committed. Empowerment isn't just a nice to have, it's a massive performance booster. And all of this comes together in the fifth and final pillar, sustainability and growth. This is what makes the model so timeless. It's built on this amazing balance between having unshakable core values and being super flexible with your methods. In other words, you never, ever change what you stand for, but you're always willing to change how you get there. This pillar so perfectly blends two of the most powerful leadership ideas of our time. It's about having what Ronald Heifetz calls adaptive leadership, that ability to steer through huge changes while protecting your core mission. And at the same time, it's about having Carol Dweck's growth mindset, where every single challenge, every setback is seen as a priceless opportunity to learn and get stronger.
So, when you put all 5 pillars together, you start to see this as a fundamental shift in what leadership is all about. It's a move away from just managing people to actually building the human. It's a shift from just chasing short-term results to creating a real, lasting impact. And most importantly, it's about moving from just exercising authority to doing the much harder, but much more rewarding work of earning trust.
And we'll end on this final thought from the book because it just beautifully wraps up the entire philosophy. It suggests that the real goal of leadership isn't to be celebrated or to be at the front, but to empower others so well that you leave them better, more capable people. And it leaves us with a pretty powerful question, doesn't it? Are we leading just to be out in front, or are we leading to leave others better than we found them?